So what is up, guys? Welcome back to the More Nick Ackerman channel. Today we're going to review the OnePlus Open. Quick disclaimer, OnePlus did send this out for review, but everything you hear in this video is my own opinion. There's no script. There's nothing I was paid to say, and they just sent this out for review. So everything's going to be honest here, whether it's good or bad. So let's go ahead and open this thing up, and you'll see you are presented with OnePlus's first foldable, and they definitely have this box that really sticks to the name because it really just opens up. Like the name, OnePlus Open. It just has like this opening effect to it. Also, never settle branding in there. And I'll tell you why in this video. I think, finally, you're really not settling with this OnePlus phone. First of all, with most phones, you settle without a charging brick. They're giving you an 80-watt SuperVOOC charger. That's fast charging. So not only are they giving you a charger, but it's faster than most competing phones out there. Also in here, you're presented with a USB-C cable, although it's not USB-C to USB-C, but still, it'll charge the phone. So let's go over here. And inside of here, you'll see you got quite a few things. So we have a SIM card tool. Yes, there's a SIM card. It's not eSIM only. You can also use a SIM card, some OnePlus stickers, the Red Cable Club card, some notes, and a welcome card. So if you open this up, you'll be able to read about it. So we're not going to do that in this video, but definitely a very nice box that came with this phone. I just had to get that out the way. It's a really nice unboxing experience. And they also included this case, and while not super durable, it's quite a nice little addition to the phone. So you do get that in the box, although the case selection is pretty low right now. This phone is a bleeding edge, so there's not, a lot of case selection out there for this phone. Now you can see I already have it set up. I wasn't about to walk you through the setup process of this phone and bore you. So let's get into the first thing, the price of this phone. So right now it's on pre-order. Open sales begin tomorrow. By the time you're watching this video, you might have already seen this phone go live. But you can see here, if you go to the OnePlus store, it's on a sale for pre-order, and they're giving you $200 off right off the bat, provided that you order and you don't, you trade in basically any phone. So it doesn't matter if you have an old cracked phone, you're probably going to still get that $200 off. So effectively, this phone is $14.99. And that's undercutting the competition, every single foldable, while still providing a phone that is arguably better than those. So this is OnePlus going to their roots, giving you a really good value proposition here. And while I still think foldables are quite high in the price point, at least this is much lower. And if you trade in something else, you'll be able to get this thing for even cheaper, like maybe under $1,000 if you trade in a flagship phone. So this Emerald Dusk is one of the colors. And then you have Voyager Black. Now the Voyager Black is slightly lighter. It's like 5 grams lighter, but both of these colors are lighter than the Galaxy Z Fold 5 and way lighter than the Pixel Fold. You can see right there, 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gig of storage is the only storage option, which is fine. That's a lot of storage and a lot of RAM, like some of the most RAM you're going to find on any phone. And you can see they sent me out the Emerald Dust, so the green colorway. And taking a look at the back, we'll get into the build and the body now. Now, you're also going to be able to buy this at Best Buy and on Amazon. So it's not just direct from OnePlus, just keep that in mind. But let's talk about some of the key specs, and we'll talk about the body in a second here. Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. So 8 Gen 3 is going to be introduced soon, but still, this is a very fast chip. DDR5, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 storage, 4.0 read-only ROM, and it does have 4805 milliamp hour battery. This has 67 watt SuperVOOC USB-C charging on here. It can do 1 to 100% in just 42 minutes. That's super fast for a folding phone. Wi-Fi 7 on board, and has a triple camera on here. And the camera, we're not going to cover every single spec of every camera, but just know the main sensor, which is right here, is a Sony Lydia pixel stacked main camera. This is the main hitter right here. And this one is OIS, but it also has a 1/1.43 inch CMOS sensor, which is basically going to match that of a 1-inch sensor you'll find on some other competing, phones out there, like the Xiaomi Pro devices that have 1-inch sensors. So you're going to get quality that rivals that of something like a S23 Ultra on this phone as well. So very long zoom on this device. This is awesome, man. It's really an awesome camera. Although I will talk about how I'm not a big fan of the shape and the size of this big camera bump. Okay, so let's cover one of the most impressive things about the OnePlus Open, and that is that this phone is super light. I mean, for a foldable, not in general. Like in general, there's phones that are lighter than this, but 245 grams to 239 grams. And it's balanced. This feels kind of like a iPhone 13 Pro Max, 14 Pro Max, maybe even 15 Pro Max in the weight. It's very well balanced weight. They knocked it out of the park here. That's the first thing you're immediately going to notice. When I use my Galaxy Z Fold now, this thing feels clunky, heavy. It just feels like last generation. I really hope Samsung is paying attention here because you got some serious competition now. And I'm glad because Samsung really needs to get out of their comfort zone and make a smartphone, a foldable that has a wider screen on the front and a lighter body. Everybody's been asking for it. So let's hope that this is the phone that pushes that forward. But back to this here, it's not very heavy at all. And it's not cumbersome to hold. They also have a 6.31 inch display on the front, which doesn't feel narrow and skinny. It also doesn't feel too wide and short. It just feels great. It feels almost like an iPhone 15 on the front, like the regular 15, the base model. It feels like that on the front, or maybe like a regular Galaxy S23, or maybe just the regular like Pixel 8. You know, their Pixel 7a, these smaller phones that have like 6.2 to 3 inch display, 6.1. It's like that on the front. What a slightly, just very slightly skinnier 20.09, something like that aspect ratio. But then when you unfold it, this has like a 7.82 inch screen. So the display on the inside is actually bigger than that of the Z Fold 5, which is probably its direct competitor here. And the crease, like you've been probably seeing in other reviews, is only visible on the most extreme angles. This is one of the best, things of a crease or a foldable crease I've seen yet, where, I don't really like creases in general, but this one, you barely ever see it. You really have to look on some extreme angles, and you're going to see it in my video because I have some very bright lights, but definitely you will never, almost ever see the crease on this phone. This is probably the best iteration I've ever seen. Also, it's not even that, you don't even feel it that much when you swipe over. So OnePlus has put a single spine hinge in here, and they're claiming that they've only put around 60 something parts versus over 100 in regular foldables. So the hinge is able to be very durable, but also keep the phone's weight down and allow you to have less crease action over there. So you'll definitely feel it. It kind of got a spring action. It definitely doesn't feel quite as solid when going through the motions as like a Z Fold 5, but it still has a level of durability. And they've tested this for like up to 100 folds a day, or like for 10 years, like 1,000,000 folds before this is supposed to break. Yeah, they've done some certifications on this boy. So, I'm pretty confident in its durability, and it's been great so far. So let's talk a little bit more about the body. They have this alert slider here. That's a classic OnePlus feature. I absolutely love this. Apple went away from their silent switch, but if you still like just a classic silent switch type slider thing, OnePlus has got your back there. You'll see volume rockers right here. Power button with fingerprint sensor. Now, I will say this has been a little bit annoying. The fingerprint is very, very sensitive. So if you're watching this OnePlus, let's try to make that a little less sensitive, or put a feature in the software to stop accidental triggers. I get this triggering all the time on accident, but you can see very shiny aluminum around the edges. Kind of looks like stainless steel. You'll see speakers, microphones right here, a SIM card tray. Thank you for not going eSIM only. That would be super annoying for those people who like to switch out their phones. And then you'll see on the back, the camera bump, the flash right there. Now the camera bump, I kind of like, it's like a bittersweet. I kind of like it and dislike it. So I like it in the sense that it kind of makes me feel like I'm holding this little like professional camera in my pocket. Like, reminds me of those Nokia Lumias back in the day when they were just putting these massive jumbo size cameras on here. Kind of reminds you of a lens, like on an actual camera. But at the same time, it makes the phone kind of like sit up like this when you place it on a table. It just kind of has like this, it's like on an angle. And if you drop this, like I'm a little concerned. Like if I hit this one time, it might shatter this thing right here. So I'm a little concerned about that. I hope they can find a way to slim this down a little bit without, affecting the overall design too much. Overall, you know, I like the way they have the Hasselblad in there. I like the way the cameras look. I like the shine, the sheen in there. You know, I definitely like all that business. But I just think it's a little bit obnoxious, honestly. And you probably heard other reviewers think the same thing. But it definitely has it gives it a unique look. And so I'm kind of like iffy on this one. I don't know exactly how I 100% feel. I'm just kind of like, I like it, but I kind of don't like it. Like, I like how it looks, but I don't like how it is practically speaking, because I'm scared I'm going to drop that the wrong way. And there goes that camera housing right there. You know, the cover display experience has also been pretty darn amazing. 2800 nits. And I haven't tested this exactly with like a lux meter, but I can tell you, I'm pretty confident to say that this is an incredibly bright display. It definitely is living up to the claims that you can see it basically anywhere. I took this in direct sunlight, super easy to see, even through my sunglasses. And then it's LTPO on the front. It's LTPO on the inside. It's 120 hertz on both. 10 to 120 hertz, so not the 1 to 120 hertz, but 10-bit color, 240 hertz touch response. So it's super responsive compared to some other Android phones out there. In addition, a high PWM flicker rate. So essentially you have, you know, a phone that's certified for eye comfort and all that. It doesn't also really give you headaches. It shouldn't give you headaches or strain your eyes too much because they have a high PWM frequency on here. So I found that this to be very comfortable on my eyes at nighttime. I do want to mention that because some phones give me a headache and give me migraines at nighttime. This one, not a problem. I will say though, I didn't find an extra dim mode in here. I might be missing it, but it doesn't get quite as dim as like I would like. So if you're watching this OnePlus, let's throw an extra dim mode on there. I wish it would get just a little bit more dim than it currently gets at nighttime, but it's still, you know, very comfortable at night. It doesn't really hurt my eyes or anything like that. Okay, so we're looking at OxygenOS 13.2, which is also known as ColorOS if you have a Oppo phone. Now you'll see that this has, you know, tons of storage, 16 gigs of RAM. And what's cool is that when you're looking at the specs, if you close it up here and you go inside, it shows you a 6.31 inch screen. Then you go there, it shows you a 7.82. So it's got plenty of features over here, but some of the main features here you're going to find are all the multitasking features. So you can take two fingers right here, go like this, and you can do some serious multitasking on here. Now you can also use this taskbar at the bottom, and you can actually bring in another application from over here. So we can grab an application over here, and then you can actually bring it down here if you want. So you could bring those two applications up. You could like swipe them out. You could swap sides. You can bring it up there. I mean, there is some serious multitasking on this phone right here. If we go over here to the main screen again, you'll see screen switching, dual windows, and more. Also, you have your wallpapers and styles. You have different always on displays. You can do a custom message. You can change the clock style, stuff like that. Yeah, and you can change different icons, sizes, and things like that. Custom icons if you want to do that. Plenty of different color options as well. Actually see your battery health in here as well, like compared to when it was new, very similar to what you'll find in iOS. And then over here, you got some special features like the smart sidebar, which I can bring from over here and start doing some other stuff. So that's pretty cool as well. One of my favorite things they add on here to this phone though is the Zen space. Now you can get this in pretty much all the OnePlus phones, but I really like this. You can basically start a Zen and you can, you know, set up your own custom profiles where you can either create, study, relax, do what you want. And it plays like a little immersive song. You can choose the apps that just help you get focused. But not only that, they have this other cool application called Oh Relax. So you open this up and then you have these different options. You can get like some ambient sounds, some like relaxing music, some pink noise, white noise. And you can see just like focus, exercise, driving. This is so cool because with all this stuff going on these days, a lot of people are downloading like Headspace and Calm and things like that. And having this stuff built in is just a really nice addition to this phone. Yeah, so overall, I'm really digging the software on this phone in terms of the features they provide. I think it's not as polished as it can be. I think they should do some refinements and just making it look a little bit more premium. It looks slightly cheap to me compared to like, you know, iOS or, you know, Samsung's version of the software. So if they can just find ways to polish it up a little bit, that would really take it to the next level with this phone. But here's some of the wallpapers, and they really are taking massive advantage of that inner display. And that's the main thing. You don't feel like you're getting some, just foldable that does nothing special. It does a lot of special things with the open canvas modes. This does also promise around 5 years of security updates, 4 of major. I just think that's plenty enough. I think by the time you use this phone, by that time you might be considering a new phone at that point. But if you're looking to keep this like 10 years, at least the folding is rated to last that long. It should last you several years to come. Another thing people don't understand about OnePlus is that they pack the phones with specs, but they actually are some of the performance leaders in the market today. I find this phone to perform more consistently than, some other devices out there. It's blazing fast. It never slows down. It's one of the best performing phones I've used ever and all year long, easily. Besides, Apple's iOS and the iPhone, this is probably the best performing Android experience I've seen all year long. So OnePlus should be proud of the fact that they really have a very fast phone on their hands. And they also mentioned that it's smooth and fast, and I agree with them. It's smooth and fast. But here's the kicker. It does all of this without ever getting hot. They have a nice thermal system on this phone as well. I just hit that. I hope I didn't scratch it. But it doesn't get hot. This is insane. Like, I was playing Call of Duty yesterday. I had some apps running in the background. This phone does not get hot, guys, like at all. Like, this is pretty amazing. So having all this power and not getting hot, it's awesome. It's probably mostly down to the optimization of Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, but it is awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the camera. So you have a triple camera here, wide angle. You can go 6 times zoom. It has a very fast shutter speed, 2x, 3x, and 6x. Also, if you get really close, there is a macro mode on there as well. It's a pretty simple camera. You got photo, you have your video mode right here, you have a pro mode. It's very easy to understand. I like that. Go over here to this settings bar, you'll see your different aspect ratios, timers, and then you have some more settings in here. You could put a watermark that says OnePlus Open. You have different levels, shutter sounds, mirror selfies, different shooting modes, and yes, they got that palm to capture mode. I really like that. Very similar to what you find on Samsung, and a couple more settings in there. And then over here, you just have a few modes. You have your night mode, high res, pano, movie mode, long exposure dual video, X-Pan. So it's like loaded with features, but also kind of simple. Then up here, if you click this, you can use dual preview. So you can see, you can use the back camera to see what's happening over there. You can also use this camera over here to, hold on, I messed it up. I hit something. The screen is so responsive that sometimes you'll accidentally press stuff. I will say that about this phone. So right there, you can use that camera on the back to take all your selfies and video. So that's pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and open this up. Let's go back to the camera. And then over here, there's one more feature. You can actually see the viewfinder while you take a photo. So there's a lot to say about this camera, but the main thing is that having the 64 megapixel sensor with 3 times optical, a 48 megapixel Sony Pixel Stack sensor, 48 megapixel ultra wide, this thing, man, it's loaded. And, OnePlus doesn't usually have the best cameras, and some reviewers are still saying they're not the best. But I could tell you, these are some of the best I've used all year. And with that Hasselblad, technology combining with them, that partnership, you are getting a foldable with some of the best cameras on the market today. Check out some of my samples. Let me know your thoughts. One of the things I will say though is that the front camera does only top out at 4K 60 or 4K 30. So if you want 4K 60, you got to use the back camera. Not a big deal, but most phones have 4K 60 on the front, so they can improve that, put 4K 60 on the next one. There's also no 8K. And over here, this camera is not blocked by an under display camera. So it's actually better looking than, maybe the Z Fold 5 because it doesn't have that screen covering it. And since I was talking about that, I should mention that punch hole camera since it is there and it is visible. You never look at this. It's all the way up in this corner. I swear I forgot it was there like multiple times. I was like, oh yeah, there's a punch hole over there. So yeah, the camera being over here, not under display, doesn't really matter at all. Honestly, you're only looking at it because I'm talking about it. When you actually use this phone, your eye literally never goes over there. So it's not a big deal. I'm not going to blast the audio because there's people in the building right now. But this thing right here is really, really loud. So don't worry about the speakers. I don't think they're the best though for speakerphone calls. So they didn't get as loud during calls as like some other phones I've used. But they're still plenty loud when you're watching video and anything like that. And it is stereo sound, so you could hear it from both sides. So very loud, very acceptable speakers on this flagship smartphone as well. I also didn't have no issues with phone call quality as well as connectivity. Wi-Fi 6E, 7, Bluetooth 5.3, the OnePlus Buds Pro 2 were connecting incredibly fast to this phone. I had zero issues with that either. So that's pretty amazing for this device as well. One thing I didn't like about the OnePlus Open is that when you open the screen, they don't have this mode where you can like watch the front screen and the flex. Immediately when you open this thing, it goes to the inside screen. Also, if you are like trying to use it like this, like some people like to use foldables like this, the angle is not super strong because once you get to a certain angle, it'll just kind of like pop back. So they could improve this a little bit where we can have a little bit better of a flex mode. And also not just go straight to the inner screen when I open like this. Because sometimes when I'm watching a video on the front, I just want to prop it up like that and watch a video. But it goes automatically to the inside screen. So that's one of the cons I found with this device. The next thing I love about this device is the battery life. It's been excellent. It actually lives up to the claims of an all-day battery life phone. And this is huge because a lot of foldables, while they do have space for a bigger battery, they don't always perform as well as you would expect. But this one with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, the optimizations, man, this battery lasts all day easily. In addition to that, it tops up so fast. Even if the battery wasn't so great, I wouldn't be super mad because it tops up so fast, but I'm super happy to report that the battery has been insanely good for this phone. I can easily, browse, and even on the inner screen, even when you're using the inner screen, it's really good. It does drain a little bit faster when you are blasting that brightness though, especially outdoors and doing a lot of camera stuff, of course. But it does the job. This fingerprint sensor is super accurate. The only problem is that it's a little bit sensitive, so you can trigger that quite a bit on this phone. I'm going to wrap up this in-depth video here. There is so many pros of this phone. It's lightweight, great screen on the front. I actually like using this more than my Z Fold 5 in terms of hardware perspective. I'm not sure I like the software more, but I definitely think it's more simple to use than Samsung's One UI. It doesn't have as many features though, but it's quite close. And the inner screen is just, it's just better because the crease is not as felt. It's bigger. You have great multitasking features that are, I would say, maybe even a little more useful than Samsung's little multitasking window you put down there because you can split 3 side by side. The cameras are super fun to use. I really enjoy these. I actually like these more than the Z Fold 5's cameras. The battery life is good, but what really shines with this phone is that it makes me want to use it is the weight. The phone is light and comfortable, and that is a huge step in the right direction for folding smartphones. So OnePlus has made definitely a really good step in this market and really has shown other manufacturers that it's possible to make these phones lightweight, give the customers what they want with a regular screen on the front, a long battery life. You're not settling. Their branding is a never settle, and they actually listen to the market's complaints. The market's complaints are mostly that you have weird creases in the middle. This phone doesn't have a super weird crease. You can barely see it. They're cumbersome and heavy. This phone is not heavy. Also, they have bad battery life, some of them. This one doesn't have bad battery life. The screens are too skinny on the front. This one doesn't have a skinny screen on the front. Literally, the only thing that would hold you back from buying a foldable now with this one is that you don't like the software, you don't like the resale value, but you're just making up excuses now, because if you do want to try a foldable, this might be the best one yet. And that's not me hyping it up. If this phone was trash, I would have told you this phone was trash. They still have some heavy competition though from the Galaxy Z Fold. This device right here is still 5 generations in. The Hinge feels so much better. People are going to love the software more in certain scenarios. And the Pixel Fold has got its place in the market as well. But I've been loving this device, and I could recommend it if you want to try out, a OnePlus device. You want to try out a folding phone. This has been an awesome experience. They can improve in certain areas. They need to improve it, and they need to improve that flex mode. They need to reduce the size of this camera. They also need to make the software a little more polished. And maybe if they can further reduce the weight, that will always be beneficial. But this is a pretty great step in the right direction. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. This is my OnePlus Open review. I'll catch you all in the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well. And peace.